Hey, Rangers, from the Ranger here. We need your help. We want to make coverage on board the Gazbot.
Here we come, there they go. People rise, 'cause they know we're super soldiers. We got cool clothes. You will soon, when you see our pose. Tension, energize, mask on. Time to ride. Combine, grease ties.
Hey everybody, it's me, Gazbot. Welcome back to that show that we call Action Active for a special edition of Indie Toku. And with me, as always,
It's the big dog, and I'm excited for this one. It's been a little while since we got to do this, and
a minute and a half.
I've been anticipating it for a bit now.
Yeah, we full disclosure. Well, you've seen the thumbnail, so you know we're talking about Unworthy. But full disclosure, we weren't gonna do this now. We were trying to catch up on Dino Fury. They got dumped all at once, and we had plans to revisit Unworthy and several other indie toku shows that we've talked about in the past. After that, why did we decide to jump into it now instead?
So now they have a lot of exciting news. They've kind of done their own version of here are some episodes or projects down the line, and also, I mean, personally, Dino Fury's all right now, so I don't mind taking a breather. But
The last couple episodes were, not like it, even though Lord Zed was in it. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that.
yeah, but also this week, timely, there is a voice acting casting call for an upcoming Unworthy affiliated project where it is to voice the brother of Ninjor, NinjaCon.
Now, NinjaCon was the red Ninjor that used to just be a figure, right?
It's always just been a figure.
Well, this is what I'm saying. They're making it, well, I'm saying making it canon, but they're making it more than just a figure. They're making it an actual character now.
Correct, yes.
Yeah. Now,
So,
the interesting thing will be if whoever is chosen, if they sound like Ninjor or if they sound very different, I guess is what I'm getting, because Ninjor has such a distinct voice. But yeah, that is going to, we're filming this Tuesday. I'll put it up either tonight or Wednesday. And I think it's going until Friday. Is that what it's
correct?
going to?
Yeah, they said in their last post as of today that the upcoming project called The Last Ninjetti ties in all 4 ninja themed seasons of the Ninjetti from Mighty Morphin, the Alien Rangers, the Ninja Steel and Ninja Storm.
Right.
And
this is a crossover with Crimson Vision / Nerdbot.
It didn't say it, but I'm pretty sure.
I mean, I guess I assume since they're always crossing over.
Yeah, my understanding, and I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, please tell me in the comments. But my understanding is Unworthy is its own continuity.
Yes.
The Crimson Vision Nerdbot stuff is another continuity, and sometimes they cross over because they're friendly with each other. But in terms of like doing their own thing, like that's where they divide. Where like Unworthy produces their own stuff, Nerdbot produces their own stuff.
I just meant in terms of, yes, the real life people behind them are friendly with each other, but also they both have storylines that involve crossing time and dimensions. So it's not much of a stretch to be like, oh, and maybe we cross into each other's dimensions, and there you go.
They have confirmed that, like in episode 3, I believe.
They had the Omega Ranger, right?
Yeah, there was Sam, which they confirmed that was Colin Bass's version.
Yeah.
And then we did see Ninjor, and we did see, I think, the Gold Ranger, who we can assume is from their found footage series.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's all connected. Well, it seems they're separate, but they can connect when they want to. And for a big thing like fighting the Arbiter, well, spoilers, it definitely seems like that's what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start. Okay, I'm gonna lay out 2 sentences here to sort of before we get into the minutia of it. Let me put this back up here. So Unworthy Productions, which does the Unworthy. So I'm gonna give myself one shot. Here's the negative. I wasn't really looking forward to this. Today specifically, I just was. It was just not a day I felt like doing this, but we agreed to do it, and blah 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 blah. And I hadn't watched the other episodes in a while, so I'm like, oh, what happened in this, and do I need to go watch them again? And that was my attitude coming into it. as soon as the theme song started, I'm like, oh yeah, I love this theme song. And it started, and this is like what we've talked about with watching, like, you know, quote unquote real episodes of Power Rangers, where like all of a sudden I'm back into it. And the opening like credits basically summed up all the stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember all this. Okay. So like I went from being like, oh, I don't know if I remember enough. Am I up for this today? To being like, oh, I remember everything. I love this theme song. I'm super jazzed. And then as we got into the episode, I'm like, this is amazing. So it was so I'm starting negative, but it was a really, really quick turnaround.
Yeah, for me, it was a thing where I follow pretty consistently on social media, kind of both camps, the Nerdbot and Unruly camps, or Unworthy camps. And you know, I had seen that originally this episode was supposed to be kind of a side episode. It was going to be just a Chrono Ranger specific episode. People voted and they said, no, we want it as a proper quote unquote Unworthy episode. They're like, all right, let's make it episode 4 then. So they, I think, tweaked some stuff behind the scenes and then put this out in
September 27th, I think it came out.
Yeah, it came out within the last 2 months.
Right.
And if you want to see our previous thoughts on Unworthy and all the other kind of stuff, check on the previous videos. We did some lengthy chats there, but kind of same with you. I definitely was looking forward to it. And when I watched it, I was very like surprised how deep certain plot points got.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, it's odd that I don't know when you watched it, but I watched it literally today for the first time.
I watched it like around when it came out.
Okay. Well, and the reason for like just full disclosure, like I moved recently and all kinds of crazy stuff is happening in my life. So it wasn't like, I don't care. It's like, and I also kind of knew we would do a video on it and I wanted to like remember it. I didn't want to like watch it and then 3 months later do it. So,
yeah.
But again, it's tough because I haven't watched the other episodes in a while, but my gut is like, this is the best one yet. You know,
so nothing against this episode. I loved episode 3 because I love specialty Rangers and I love origin stories. So that tickled that fancy. But this also tickled that fancy. So like it's a thing where like last episode, I really liked the fight between a version of Draken and the first Ranger and the King Tyranno Ranger. So like that to me, I'm like, that's pretty awesome. But then this like also had its own stuff. I think we're fine to show this because it's its own thing.
You know, I wasn't sure because sometimes the creators don't even make the copyright strikes. Sometimes YouTube does. So for still images, I could pull it up, but I don't know. I've had issues with things, so I was trying to play it safe.
Also, having I think it's like Super Dragon Pink Ranger. I'm probably butchering that, but there's a new like title for Kimberly, like what kind of ranger she is with the
green and pink mixed. But
correct, yeah.
Because it's different than when like Jason took the dagger and added that power to his own. Because it's
like, similar.
Well, then why would it? What did they call Jason when he had it? It was just Dragon Shield Red Ranger.
They didn't. They said, "Oh, this is that weird part where we have to turn an American show into something with Japanese footage from a ranger we don't want to not be in here anymore."
Let's come up with a cool name for this since it's a thing. But we both forget. Pink Dragon. I mean, Pink Dragon just makes sense.
No, they said it. If you remember, tell us below.
There you go.
But kind of like you catching up on the intro. That obviously is something I'm jazzed about. I love the design on there. Finally get to understand why like there's all these nuances about Chrono Ranger where it's like, hey, like why you got a cybernetic arm? Hey, what's going on with that cloak? Hey, how does that Beast Morphers tech work? Like
this is one of those things where there's a toy YouTuber I watch who is semi-controversial. I don't agree with everything he says. I won't say the name. But one of the things he always says about toys is, hey, the fans are making the best work. It's like, that's like a thing he says a lot, meaning people that are doing custom toys. I get that feeling when I'm watching this. And some of the other fan stuff too, because it's like, as much as I'm enjoying the last couple episodes of Dino Fury, not so much, but like, it's just when I see stuff like this, it's why can't Power Rangers, like, I know they don't want to go this dark, but even just like the CGI and effects are as good or better than Power Rangers made by Hasbro on Nickelodeon or Netflix. And like the acting is as good or better. Like all, like, you know, whatever you think of the creative choices, generally speaking, it's all as good or better than the multi-million-dollar company version. And I don't understand, like, it shouldn't be, it shouldn't be.
Yeah. Side kind of avenue. That's part of the reason I love the comic so much, is because I get the same kind of vibe as these series where it's like, here's something really cool that totally makes sense that I think is awesome and I hope you think is awesome too. But it's not so at the top of like, here's the Power Ranger show where like not everybody gets to see it, but it is the best stuff.
Yeah.
Like this is the best live action and that is the best, obviously, comic because it doesn't have competition, but you know what I mean? Of like, why can't we have this with everything?
Well, and I realize the way I'm saying it is sort of a backhanded compliment. And I don't want it to be that way because I'm saying it like I'm criticizing Hasbro Power Rangers, Saban Power Rangers, whatever Power Rangers.
Yes.
But I'm also elevating this because they're not like, oh, they're doing it just as good as Power. Like there's obviously just love and effort and energy that's put into it by every person on the crew and like everything, the music, all of it together, that's making it better than what's coming out. So to be clear, I'm not, but what the effect is, one of these episodes comes out every 6 months, a year or whatever, they come out. And I understand why, I'm not criticizing, but then I watch this and then I go back to watching, Dino Fury, and even the good episodes, I'm like,
yeah, I know.
It just, it could be better.
One thing, stay on this freeze frame. So when we first were introduced to Chrono Ranger, one thing I noticed was the Beast Morpher's like morpher. And I thought, obviously this is an independent thing. So I'm like, that toy, either you got the Japanese one for a reasonable price or got the America one and integrated into this. I'm like, very good use. And then I was like, how is this going to incorporate though? And then this episode, we're going to be jumping around with our thoughts a lot. Full disclosure. I'm like, that was freaking awesome. Like I wouldn't have guessed you incorporated it that way. And I'm so happy everything worked out behind the scenes in front because of that.
I think we probably both had a thought of like, well, they might not explain it. Maybe it's just, hey, it's somehow tied in, or maybe they're using it as a different, but I also think because of the timeline when this comes out and when Power Rangers aired, I feel like they maybe didn't have all the Venjik stuff in mind originally. Maybe not. Maybe they did. I'm not sure exactly the timeline, but it seems like they could have, on the fly been like, oh, well, this is what happened there, so let's reincorporate into this. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe they were going to do that anyway because of like RPM stuff, and it just worked out. But like, I liked, again, it made it feel more like it's a different dimension, but it felt like, oh, this is real Power Rangers, whatever that.
Yeah. Is. The other thing on that same note is I really like how they use the like MMPR sword and then gave it to Rocky of like, you're not the only Red Ranger, but like, let me elevate, like you deserve this, like you earned this when you didn't have it before.
Parts of the previous episodes, like the non-action stuff, like character, like I think I said, and if I didn't, my recollection is that Rocky was my favorite character in that. And I don't know if I said that at the time, but that's my recollection now. Real quick, because we were talking about the voiceover auditions, there were these are the Cogs, their version of the Cogs, and there were, to my memory, voiceover auditions for this as well.
Correct.
And I say to my memory, even though both of us auditioned for it, so I know for a fact. But so kudos to whoever got it. I don't remember their name. I'm not saying that to be bitter. I just forget. But they did a good job. And I like the talking Cogs. I wasn't sure, and I like when it's like one of them's like, there he is, and like it kind of like better version of like battle droids or something where they're not like super intelligent, but
Roger.
So I like that overall. But I also like that once again with NinjaCon, they're giving another opportunity for a fan of the series to be involved. So I kudos double for that.
Also, this fight was great. It was brief, but it was awesome.
They did a great job with all the fights. That fight was great, and it was very much like before he was the Chrono Ranger, he was the Silver Time Ranger. Well, they call him Silver 2, I believe. And he was awesome already. You know, so they did a good job of being like, he was an awesome Ranger to begin with. And again, we're jumping around, but they did a good job of building up him and Gold as being like amazing. And so when they're defeated, it's even like, oh, well,
I was thinking better the than exact most same
other
thing.
Rangers. How could we possibly,
Also, their guns have grown on me. I think in the past, if I didn't say it, I didn't love them initially, the Time Force guns, but I really am starting to like them a lot more, especially because of this episode.
I like them. I'm trying to see if I could Yeah, if the sound muted, it sounds. But yeah.
Also,
wanted to get
I was gonna say, perfectly awesome CGI, like really great.
Right. Well, that was my note. I said this earlier, but this was the scene. I mean, we've had plenty of it, but I literally, my note was CGI / special effects as good or better than Power Rangers.
I would argue better. I
think often better. And I don't know if it was this scene or not, but and you can see like there's the integration where obviously there was some kind of real set below.
yeah,
And
just really great.
Yeah. Coming up right here, I guess I'm just taking my chances here with copyright.
Yeah.
This scene right here with the stuff overhead and they pan down, they got the hollow image, and then they got more special effects on the hollow image. For some, it looks good, but something about it really made me think of modern Japanese toku.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is I don't mean necessarily Sentai. I mean like the Space Sheriff Gavon movie or
Kamen Rider
or like all the current stuff where they're like, we know they don't have the budget we have over here. So they're like high-end stuff heavily relies on CGI and they get creative with it and they put more effort into it. And that's what this feels like to me. Even though it's American, it feels more Japanese than Power Rangers, if that makes sense.
Also, this is a very easy kind of like attribute for these chronomorphers where I'm like, that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why we didn't have this before. And also, I love this side by side because we see that kind of evolution where like, oh, these do kind of look a little gnarlier. Like, I like how they look more like skull-like and menacing.
I agree. I like the redesign. The what do you call it? It's spandex, but there's the sublimation dye I think they used on it is fine. It's the only part that isn't as good. Like the whole thing is great. I wish they could have done the sublimated dye suit. Maybe just put a couple pieces sticking out or something. I'm nitpicking, but that was my only critique of the cogs, to be honest.
I've no nitpicks there. This part right here, and
I'll say everything I say is going to be a nitpick because overall this is amazing.
It is.
I have nitpicks, but if I didn't, then we'd just be like, hey, this is great the whole time. It'd be pointless.
Yeah. The cutscenes here, putting them all together. Just the thing I will say is this episode was a half hour, and I feel like I got like 6 episodes worth of content of like a regular season.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Like once again, it's like you don't need 20 minutes to like, beat around the bush and be like, oh, I guess we have this new flame coin power armor thing. This is like, hey, here's 20 seconds and we're incorporating 3 storylines together very cohesively.
And when they do introduce the new flame coin power armor, it's not, they don't do a good job of it anyway. It's not like, oh, we earned this by conquering the fear in my heart. It's just like, boo, here it goes, whatever. Yeah. This is another reason I kind of wanted to do this after Dino Fury because we're gonna be judging Dino Fury more harshly after watching.
Oh, in the next episode, we are gonna just judge.
And I haven't watched it yet, but you have, I know. And so they have Jen Scotts as the mentor figure in the flashback here, as we know.
Yeah, I love the slight change because she's the only one that is a quote established. Well, I guess we saw Red,
Wes, but he's not. Yeah.
Well, here's the difference. Wes's suit, I think, is just the traditional Time Force suit, whereas hers is specific to this.
Oh, I see. So like his might be him in the past doing like stuff in the 90s where she's actually aged and there's that Time Force gun. This isn't the full image of it. It's sort of the lighted image, but again, that's a great prop.
Yeah, it looks awesome. Like right here, I was like, oh, that's really cool, actually.
Yeah, and I would assume that is not CGI. That looks to me like there's some LEDs in there. If it's CGI, like that indistinguishable. But I would assume that that's just a really well made prop with LEDs in it.
So right here is where we. Oh yeah, he fights more. Okay, sorry, I thought this was the scene after where Venjix is involved.
I also like how many what's the word? I want to say extras, but I think background artists. But that's not how many cogs. How many physical human beings in cog suits they seem to have. I mean, maybe they've only got 3 or 4 actual people, but it looks like it doesn't look like that. You know what I mean? They do a good job of making it look like there's a ton of cogs.
Also, they had little swords, right?
Yes, I think. Well, they come out in a minute. I think they're Beast Morpher swords, aren't they?
No, they're from the movie.
Oh, okay, but they're actually like Toys R Us swords, right?
Yeah, so I believe we're gonna see in a sec.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, so that's from the movie, the 2017 movie.
Okay, you're right. I remembered seeing it at the toy store, but you're absolutely right.
So once again, it's like, oh, here's this stuff from the Power Ranger movie that no one wanted that were like clearanced out at Toys R Us and Target and wherever, and you used it in a super cool way.
Yeah. That gun is cool looking. I don't think I ever had a problem with that gun. Although looking at it there, it looks like a Pac-Man about to eat 3 pellets, doesn't it?
Oh, it does a little bit.
This is a little thing, but this is that kind of justification that we don't get all the time. He's using his gun; it's working. Why would he switch to a sword randomly? Oh, because they could deflect it. And he's like, they could deflect my shots. I'm going to switch to a sword. Awesome. Now that makes perfect sense.
Once again, 5 seconds.
Yeah, unnecessary, but awesome.
Yeah, just checking every box right now. Another great fight. I personally love the melee fights in Power Rangers. So this especially, I was like, cool. Guns don't win every fight. We have to use the sword. Yay.
Yeah.
And again, like this whole episode, those swords were used in Time Force, but I don't really remember them like being that.
I think that's true of most Power Ranger seasons where they get special weapons and then barely use them. And in the fan stuff, the little bit of it that we've seen and that exists, it seems like it's like, hey, there's these cool weapons. Why don't we highlight them more? You know what I mean? Like
it reminds me of I don't know if you know this little tidbit from the movie Swingers, but apparently one of the biggest costs. Do you know the movie?
I know the movie. I've seen it, but not in a really long time.
Okay.
Vince Vaughn and
Jon Favreau.
Jon Favreau, yeah.
Yeah, so they apparently paid the rights for the Jaws theme, and it was like a reasonable chunk of their budget. So that's why it's in the movie so much, because they're like, we spent all this money on Jaws, like we're gonna do it. And to me, I see that same thing, to your point, and be like, this is an awesome prop, and you're going to see the heck out of it. Like, we are going to use it a lot, and it's going to be freaking great, and you're going to appreciate it. And this whole episode, I'm like, man, those sabers are really cool. Why didn't they use them more in the show?
Yeah, well, but it doesn't make sense the other way, where they made them in the show, and they want kids to buy the toy, so like you would think it would be a much bigger deal, but
because guns win all battles. That's what we've learned in the last 2 seasons.
This is a part I did not like right here. This is the cogs talking. I've established I don't mind the cogs talking. But what we see is one cog is talking to another, and he's like, and so then I said, exterminate you, or you'll be exterminated, or whatever. Now, this I might sound like a hypocrite. If you follow us, I recently said I liked this exact same joke, or almost exact same joke, on an episode of Dino Fury, where Slither was talking to Mucus after having had a battle, and I forget the joke now, but he's like, I'll defeat you. And they cut, and he's just finished that. So then I said, I'll defeat you. And then they attack or whatever. In that situation, I liked it because that fit that character. First of all, he's this braggadocious guy. It was a callback to a scene we had just seen, and it was sort of a throwaway thing that he was sort of bragging to his coworker, essentially. Now, that's basically the same joke we're getting here. Why don't I like it here? Because they're cogs, and it personifies them. And we took them from being automatons that had nothing. Then we gave them basic vocalizations, which I like. That makes them seem like battle droids, and battle droids get goofy too, and I don't like when the battle droids get goofy, or like Cybermen from Doctor Who or something like that. So it struck me as weird. It felt shoehorned in to be this sort of goofy, hey, we're buddies at work. Oh, I got killed. And I'm like, how are they buddies at work exactly? Like, I don't know, that took me out of it. And actually there's 2 or 3 times in this episode that the humor is what I did not like.
I would say because these cogs are upgraded due to Venjix, I think it's Venjix having influence on them, and then like kind of like it turning into its own thing. And you have a couple of these anomalies where it is that kind of thing where like, oh, these ones happen to have humor, and the other ones are just really good murder machines.
That is a fair headcanon, and that might be what the creators intended, and that makes logical sense. Still didn't love the joke. And I'm not against humor, because I feel like a lot of times it comes off like, I just hate humor and power. Like I don't, but it's just
I am a stoic man.
Yeah, I must have severity in all things. So the
cog gets shot in the face.
Yeah. Yes. By essentially what is Venjix, although now it's calling so. Now this is Legion. What's interesting is they have this face mask. At first, for half a second, I thought it was going to be some version of Roxy from Beast Morphers because of the swoops. But what's weird to me is that, again, going with the props thing, they made this awesome prop face, right? And it's got these crazy fangs and stuff.
And then they cover it. Okay, for battle mode. I don't think they ever uncover it again. No, but so go back a panel just to freeze frame on the costume really quick.
Yeah.
So 2 things I love about this costume. 1, the entire body makes me think of Cyborg and like a really good like cyborg costume, which I appreciated.
I agree with that, but I would mix it with Ultron with the head look.
Well, here's where I'm getting to. The head actually reminds me of either Megatron or Galvatron from one of
the Bayformers movies.
Yeah, where he had those little like tusk things.
I don't. You know more than I.
So another design I like, even though not a huge fan of all those movies. So two things I really liked right off the bat. Like that battle mode where it's covered and menacing.
I liked the battle
tusks.
mode. I just thought it was unfortunate that it didn't, use it.
So right here, two things. One, loved this fight. Two,
Yes.
this entire fight was anime, and I mean that in the best possible way.
Yeah. I also find it interesting. They have these little red LEDs for the eyes, but then they also have like plexiglass in front of it to give it more of like, I don't know. It's just, it makes it look like a helmet. Like it seems unnecessary if it's a robot. Like, and I'm saying they put it in and I like it.
So
they
to me,
diffuses it a little bit more.
No, to me, it's kind of like the Iron Man visor where like behind it, a lot of other stuff's going on that we're not necessarily seeing.
Sure, but Vengeance wouldn't need that because everything would be just going straight to their brain. I'm not criticizing. I'm saying
overlay.
Forget about canon. I'm saying building a prop, building a robot. They didn't need to put plexiglass over the lights. It's just an interesting choice that I like.
I prefer it.
But me too.
I like
to fight about it?
I do.
Okay.
Speaking of fights, so this fight was dope.
Yes.
Gold and silver are very awesome.
Yes.
Use of the sword staff thing.
And the whole tie-in to the Beast Morphers current or recent, I should say, storyline was very cool. If they planned that all along, that's great. If they did it on the fly, that's even better.
Yeah.
And the props are top notch. And we'll talk about this later. They have a Patreon open now for future episodes. Did they have a Kickstarter for this one, or was it a Patreon? I kind of forget.
I honestly don't remember.
I don't. Yeah, it's not really important, but it shows that they had a budget.
Oh, Mega Man Cannon, dope.
Yeah, I wrote Mega Buster. Yeah, she's like, here's the Mega Buster.
Yeah.
But I do feel like right here he should have had it open, like telling him his plan, and then he's like, now it's time to battle.
I take that as a potential behind the scenes thing where those were really fragile, and it's like, we have to keep them close now.
So for fighting and stuff, you wouldn't, but when he's just monologuing, I would think.
No, I'm saying like in between takes, like doing that, it's like, so we have to keep this closed now, or we don't get to open them again without them breaking. Like that's how I took it. If it was just a personal choice, whatever, it didn't bother me. But I like this monologue, and then him having the morpher is cool. Yeah. And when he morphs, also very odd. Oh, what an intro!
Gold comes in with the dual guns, and and Gold and Silver have their designs are perfectly timed for. So I want to mean that it's very common for people to make their own color of a team that didn't exist, and it usually falls into one of two camps, and there are exceptions. Either it's exactly and just they colored it purple, or it's too far out there where they're trying to be like, and these just fit perfectly.
Seamless.
If I found out that these were suits that were in the Sentai that didn't make it to America, I would believe it.
Like that they're from a movie or something.
Yeah. Like they're just different enough, but they fit there. Like, they're very good. And hey, gold and silver. I love gold and silver Rangers.
And this is another one of those things, kind of like what we went back to, what you were saying in the beginning, where I'm like, I'm upset because these are only in this, and I can't see them in the comic or the show.
No, and we can't get figures. Oh, PewDiePie, get out of here. Commercials. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. So that's the only thing that bums me out about this scene. Is it's so great. I'm like, I wish I could see these characters outside of this series,
in the
like
video
onward.
game or something. Also, something I don't know if I mentioned this before because we did the other review so long ago, but with Gold, unless I'm very much mistaken, it seems like a female suit actor.
Correct.
And well, no, I mean I know it's a female character. But it's nice because the Japanese suit actors, even when they're females, are almost always men. Sometimes they do better than others, whatever. So and I don't mean this in a creepy, weird way, but it's just nice to see female stunt actors and suit actors playing the parts. Like I don't know. It struck me as, oh yeah, we don't normally get to see this. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, this whole scene, double thumbs up the entire time. Good shots, good close up. Like I said, very anime.
The lighting is a lot of fun, and that's been true for a lot of these, the lighting and the music sell a lot of it, you know,
Yeah.
and that's true. Like without the music too, like my go-to is always Halloween. The first Halloween movie before they put the soundtrack in was boring. Then they put the music in and it was like terrifying. And I feel like that's true for Power Rangers too, you know, for a lot of things, but it's just like, otherwise it's just people in spandex doing this, you know, like,
Yeah. Scoot forward a little bit to the morph. I want to see Ranger Vengeance right here.
it's going to happen right here.
Again, something we either haven't seen or if we did, I forgot. But the one thing I liked bringing back the Beast Morphers, they did the little cyclone.
Yes, I noticed that. That was very cool. I think he looks cool and appropriate. He makes me think a little bit more of a Kamen Rider than a Power Ranger, but that's fine.
So I was gonna say this to me reminded me of like a different color palette, but the Genji Sentai suit from Overwatch.
Oh my god, I was gonna bring that up, but I didn't think you played Overwatch.
I have that pop because I love that, and it's an honorary Ranger.
Yeah, it's Genji, and they just call it Sentai. But what's funny is, I and many people are like, well, it looks more like a Kamen Rider than a Sentai hero. But regardless, it's a cool design, and they got the little diamond on there for little Mighty Morphin.
Yep, I love the shoulder pads.
Yeah.
Really cool gauntlets. And then I love, especially after he morphs, he does like this weird like neck twitch thing where he's like too powerful and he's like, I don't fully compute yet.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
Awesome fight. Awesome fight right here.
Yeah,
also, I love the strategy. Like we see strategy sometimes in Power Rangers, but 9 times out of 10, it's like, how about one of you go over here and the other one go over here?
They're doing it like military or police officers would, or even like the X-Men or something. We're like, okay, Gamma 6, let's, you know, we've actually practiced our teamwork before. Yeah. Also, even though the finishing move was still the finishing move, because I double checked this when they were fighting Vengex, or wait, oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'm getting ahead. We're fighting Vengex now. They called it like Delta, and then when they fight the Arbiter, they call it like Gamma. So they didn't do the exact same plan, like every person, like, well, here's a different person, let's do it. So I liked that too.
Yeah. Again, like I like how he's upgraded in the sense where, you know, headcanon or not, when you morph, you become good at martial arts. That's just a thing from the Matrix. It's now, you know, canon if it wasn't already. He can fight if he couldn't before. And I like how, you know, he starts to see like in that overlay of like dodge, don't move this.
Right.
Great sword choice.
Like seems to pull this sword out, like kind of like this. She's like, I just feel like I could get a sword, like because they all sort of seem to know how to get their weapons, you know. And it's the Magna Destroyer instead of the Defender, which of course.
Yeah. Love the sword choice. I think it's just a great visual sword and really fits his aesthetic.
I don't love. They have the Silver Ranger who becomes the Chrono. He swears. He says a curse word. I didn't find it personally offensive, but it just seemed weirdly out of place. Because the rest of there was like that was it. That was the one time. It reminded me of Transformers, the animated movie, where they literally had one character say SHIT one time. Yeah. And that's what was in this. Is like, whoa, I guess they could have one and still be PG, or like it just seemed out of weird, like because there was only one. You know what I mean?
I don't totally remember, but now that you're bringing it up, it is.
I love this split screen here. Again,
oh, dude, so... the overlay there, and then the.
It's so good. It's so good. It's so modern Toku, so unfortunately better than a lot of what we see in Power Rangers and even Sentai, because a lot of Power Rangers finishing moves are just pulled from Sentai. Like so, like it makes me think of movie Toku. Like it's very, very good.
To all the people watching our future reviews, I'm sorry if we sound so negative, but the bar is high for us, and now you know why.
Also, the way he was using the what do they call it? The chrono shifter, I guess. Is a lot like the Omega Access that they use in the other Shattered Grid. Is it Shattered Grid? I always mix it up because it's similar to the other name. But it's
Shattered Past.
Shattered Past. Thank you. The Delta Formation. I like that they used the Time Force badge. Now here's a question, and they made a joke there. Time's up. Fine. Was it a great joke? No, but it's fine. It's appropriate. I have no problem with it. There was a weird sound when they used the badge.
Dude,
it the toy.
I don't know, but it was really loud and it startled me when I watched this.
It was so noticeable that my thought was, because I didn't have the toy, but I'm like, maybe that was like from the toy. Maybe that was the original sense. Like I don't know where that sound come from, but I have to believe it wasn't just a random choice. It has to be.
I watched this really late at night when I saw it originally, and
Right.
I just remember hearing the wee wee, and I was like, oh, cool use of the little
Yep. Shrunk
tube.
them
I don't
down.
remember that from the show, but this made perfect sense to me.
I mean, I remember them shrinking them down in Time Force, and they were put into some kind of container. I don't know if
I
it looked like
remember SPD a lot better than Time Force, so that's why I'm
SPD. They
like,
put in cards.
I know.
Yeah,
That's why
but
for
Time
this,
Force
I'm
you would
like,
shrink 'em. Yeah. And we find out that Katie was Mary's mother, which Mari's mother, which makes sense. Even the actress, like, I mean, she doesn't look exactly like her, but like you could tell like there's that. I'm assuming when they were casting, they had that in mind at least a little, or maybe they
Well,
just did her makeup and hair to look like.
well, I
her a
think
little
even
more. I don't
more
know.
so, just a lot of the character traits. Like she was one of the strongest, if not the strongest, on that team. Well, physically she was, but like
Right.
in terms of kind of like her demeanor and fighting style and all this,
Yeah.
like it makes sense how they had that character. We get them unmorphed at the end, which I
Yeah.
appreciate. They're like, the fight's over. I don't have to be morphed, but we don't necessarily have somebody for Jen, so we're gonna keep her morphed, and that's totally
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. Here's a joke I was fine with. Super strength hug. That's fine. They're not in a
Because
fight.
again, her mom had super
Yeah.
strength. Pass it down.
And
Totally
proof
good.
that I don't hate jokes.
Yep.
All
Here's
right.
me liking jokes, everyone.
All right. I got through 2 pages of notes. I got 2 left.
All right. So,
Oh, he mentions that he's from Edenoi,
Yep.
which is where Andros is from. So that was a nice little
also Dax.
callback.
No, Dax is from Edenoi. Andros from KO35.
You are right. Ninja Steel points to you. There
Boom.
you go. And that makes more sense since it's Time Force. So
Yeah, because they do the little gem too in some point in this episode. I don't remember when, but we do see his little
when she
gem.
rescues in the flashback when she rescues him, he has a little gem.
Yeah.
He also goes through like he's saying like, oh, I live up to like the past silvers. Now he named Zane in space, Ryan from Lightspeed Rescue, Merrick from Wild Force, and then he says Jilshi. I rewound it and I'm like, the best I got was Jilshi, and either I'm mishearing it, don't remember it, or that was like another one in the line that we don't know because they're in our future.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like I was confused the first time I heard it, and then with this, my assumption is, hey, have you ever heard of the Alien Silver Ranger, or like something like that? And it's like, watch Last Ninjetti or one of these things where they introduce their own.
I thought it was more because they do this in Star Trek a lot because they're in the future, and so they'll be like, like all the great thinkers like Einstein and Darwin and Stephen Hawking and Messerschmitt. And it's like, who's Messerschmitt? And like, well, he was in the year 3000. Like they always have to put one in that we don't know to prove they're in the future. So that's what I thought maybe this was.
I would take based on everything we've seen, I would take this more of an Easter egg than like weird, like
well, if somebody
obscene
watching
canon.
knows, what he said, was it Jilshi? And if you know what it means, then let us know.
Maybe Daishi and no, Daishi's evil.
That was but Daishi becomes good at the end. Spoiler,
but not in the other fan series.
That's a different Daishi though. Well, okay. Daishi, the Force doesn't become good, but the man who inhabited Jared, yeah, I guess Jared becomes good. But I heard Jilshi, which might be totally wrong, but whatever. But
I'm going with Easter egg. That's my bet.
In this, he says in his whole thing, he's like, am I worthy? Which I thought was good because the whole thing is no one's worthy. You're unworthy.
Power Rangers Unworthy. Yeah. Boom, boom.
So I was like, all right. It made me think of like, that's the name of the movie. And I also, another joke I liked, she's like, oh God, you're so brooding. This is me, bro. And he's like, people tell me I'm cool because of my brooding. Like, I like that joke too. And it's very true because it is always like the cool brooding guy, but
it is ironic just because he broods a lot from what we've seen, but he has full reason to brood, and we're gonna find out why.
Yes.
Yeah, just this was the literal calm before the storm of that joke and everything else of like, oh, we beat Vengeance, who's a really big deal and a huge boss of game number 1 and 2, and I wonder what else is coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
Find out right now.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Wes's outfit, at least from what I can see, does look like the traditional.
Like she has like unworthy metallic armor on almost.
There's like a little
way.
There's more texture to it, and there's like a little more airbrushing and stuff. And then this. Wait, we should just say nobody should be watching this video if you haven't seen this episode of Unworthy.
A little late.
I feel like that goes without saying.
It does.
I feel like it goes without saying. But if you've made it this far and you're like, this looks like a cool thing I'd like to watch,
Go watch it.
stop watching our episode right now and go watch it and
Yeah.
then come back. Because if you don't, you're going to regret it. Because right now, this is going to happen. Oh,
Boom.
so savage. Just
What's worse
Wait.
than having one big bad here? The tube of the other big bad broken.
but
Nothing
also
can
just
go
to be
wrong
like,
there.
it's that kind of like, it makes me think of like Aliens or something where it's like, it's not even like, well, we had a fight and failed, or it's just like, hey, I want a hand, and you're just like dead. You know, there's like,
Yep.
it doesn't matter how good of a warrior you are.
Yeah.
How do you defend against something just shoving through your back when you don't see it coming?
Yeah. Blindsided.
That was just savage.
Good death right here.
Yep.
Again, the one thing, I forget who said this, so I'm sorry for not giving credit where credit is due,
Mhm.
but there was a writer at some point in time, semi-recently, that said the best writers write themselves into a very difficult, almost impossible situation and then have to figure out how to write themselves out. And I feel like that is the Arbiter incarnate, because
Right.
I really don't know how they beat him. He is just like more than a force of nature.
I mean,
He's just
you get Lord Draken, and he's got all these Ranger powers, and it's like, well, the answer is to get every Ranger from time and space to fight him, and then through heavy casualties, you could defeat him. With the Arbiter, it doesn't. I mean, it seems like that's kind of where they're going, but I don't think it's going to be a brute force thing. I don't think it's going to be like we got the 50 best Rangers. Like I don't. I mean, maybe it will be, but I don't see it going that way.
Yeah, I really don't know, just because we've already established he can incorporate other people's weapons into his own stuff. The punching the face, breaking the visor was awesome.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Yeah, all the fights are great. And I like how this fight comes right after the other one too, because like again, I said, they showed us, okay, you know, Time Silver is great. And then she's great. Together, they're awesome. They do this they beat Venjix as a Ranger, like, oh, they're like, that's it, you know. But then they have essentially the same fight again, and it doesn't go so well. But they've established how tough they are.
Yeah.
As soon as the Venjix thing got dropped, I'm like, he's getting out. But I thought it was gonna be a thing like that'll be in a future episode or something. But they're like, no, here he is right here. He's back. He's like the typical villain thing, like, come on, let's team up, buddy. You and me, the Rangers, right? Ha 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 ha. And he's just like, no.
This to me was the greatest, like 5 seconds of, hey, you like Power Rangers? Here's something you see in Power Rangers. This is unworthy. Boom!
Yeah.
Chop the head off.
Yeah.
The thing I liked about this fight is, like you said, it built up credibility for Silver and Gold. And then in this fight, they also did a great balance of Arbiter is nigh unstoppable.
Yes.
And they're doing a decent job of putting up a fight, but we're not like, and through friendship, they beat him. It's like, no.
It also doesn't make me think like, oh, the Unworthy Ranger, like the primary Unworthy Rangers that are not really in this episode except for the beginning and the end. Like, I'm not like, oh, well, they'll get together and beat him. It's like, I mean,
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I honestly am super curious how this.
Yeah, because I kind of
what happens.
I kind of feel like this team here is a little bit stronger, and they're not doing.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, I don't even want to say. Like, I wonder how, you know, the Arbiter gets resolved in a plot. Like, I honestly don't know. It could be like, hey, by the way, he won, and we're going to tell you in 5 episodes. Like, who knows?
I'll say this. Going back to what you said about like writing yourself into a corner. This is, to use a sports term, which I barely understand because I don't follow sports. This is their game to lose at this point, because it's been building and getting better and better, both in terms of anticipation, special effects, everything. And so when we get to the end, if it is just like, oh, look, here comes Rocky, and he had the heart of the cards, so he won, it's gonna be like, really? Like, so like they're setting it up so well that now I say this, but if they do a good enough job of Rocky having the heart of the cards, it might get me anyway. Because I didn't really like all that Rocky.
What I was going to say on that thought, kind of pausing, going back to the episode, they've done a great job already. We've established Zach is experienced on the team, left and came back. Rocky now has the heart of the cards in himself, has a new sword.
Yes.
Kimberly is souped up with Green Ranger power, and Chrono Ranger is Silver with the, you know, super duper time and space chronomorpher. So we got two very souped up Rangers, two
and
Rangers that are like regular plus.
Yes. And presumably they all now have lost a little bit of their innocence and are going to be more soldiers as opposed to like superheroes, because they're like, people are dying. This guy needs to be stopped. We can't be playing just nicey nice. Like, we're not trying to capture,
Yeah.
So that could be a factor too. One thing, this is unintentionally made me laugh. I want to go back. They were having that conversation and reminiscing before the fight starts. And they're like, oh, and this happened. And they're talking for like 5 minutes, And then Jen's like, so anyway, I'm going to call Wes. And it's like, what? She was here the whole time? Like, it's just so weird. Like, I assume she left.
So my assumption, because everything at the time was hunky-dory, they were reminiscing, and because she is senior officer, she has to do the paperwork with Venjix, and that's what she was doing the whole time.
That makes sense, but I forgot it just struck me because I literally wrote like, wait, she was there the whole time? What? Okay.
If we later on, and I have a feeling this might lean toward this because they made a point of Silver being from Illinois. If we somehow get a redeemed, unworthy version of Dax in here, and he just goes like all in and helps, and here's a kicker, which is
redeemed
because he wasn't great on the show. So this will show how much they watch this video or not. If you do put Dax in, please, in some way, shape, or form, put his iconic line from this show repeated into infinity: words have no meaning on a planet under the cape of war. That's all I need. That's all I need. And then I don't know what else.
Could you imagine? That would be amazing.
I would geek out. So look, I'm already red in the face.
Here's the problem. We're not worthy.
We're unworthy.
That would be amazing.
Destiny.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
I also, another note I put that I forgot, when Jen went down and Silver was like, raw, it made me think of Obi-Wan in Phantom Menace when Qui-Gon went down. Is that same sort of like, I'm a hero, but for a minute I'm just filled with fury at what's happening.
We talked about this from Dino Fury, which is ironic. But we've talked about like abridged kind of morph sequences.
Yeah.
This was the best one I can remember, period, where they're like, and we're morphing in motion, and I'm going to...
And there was still a bit of an effect, but then it's like right into the attack. Yeah.
It wasn't just the flash, I'm in costume. It was...
Here we go. Like, split screen. Oh, it's what we saw before. And we think it's going to...
Oh, dude.
Yeah, speaking of the flash, they got the energy around him. Yeah, it's...
And then... And... Whoomp.
Yeah. Oh, that does not look good.
Arbiter is a force of nature, dude.
This is like, it's funny you said the flash, because that's what I thought of. Like, they're moving so fast that we could barely see him, but he's moving so fast that they're just like walking up to him. They're just like, oh yeah, I'll take that.
And also, I think we talked about this. His big like middle piece is from the Flash universe, Firestorm.
Oh yeah. I also like a lot of this fight when he's getting shot at the end here and parts in the middle. There are parts where he's like fighting, but a lot of it, he's just lumbering around and just taking his time. And it makes me, it's very horror movie. I mean, the whole thing is because he's so vicious, but having just watched Halloween and having seen like
very Michael Myers of him,
Michael Myers or Jason, where it's just like, okay, I'm going to walk over there. You do whatever. And then even his lines, like those characters don't speak, but he's like, fight, run. It makes like, he's like, yeah, I'm not in a hurry. I know you can't hurt me. I know you're going to die. And okay, you want to do it this way? Fine. Let me walk over there and break your neck. Okay.
And just
boom. Yeah. It's all meaningless. Oh, okay. So when he loses his arm, that was like some hardcore, like not just because like I was thinking to be like a but he's like the way someone would actually react when they would lose an arm, like just screaming.
Two things I liked about this: when we see him on the ground after, great CGI removing that arm. Like when he's like rolling around, I'm like, I don't see any effect of any kind of arm or whatever. Like that's awesome.
Right here.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. That is good. Later on, I don't think it's as good. I'll say that.
Well, we'll see later on. But dude, Arbiter scares the bejesus out of me.
Well, I just compared him to Michael Myers. I mean, I agree.
No, Michael Myers doesn't really scare me as much because, like you said, he's lumbering and slow, and people just need to plan accordingly. He said before he gets but dude, yeah, and I don't know what it is, but his swords just like are scary looking. I think I said this where they remind me of the Uruk-hai swords from Lord of the Rings.
Yes, because it's not like a fine blade cut to be aerodynamic and wielded properly. It's like oh, this is like a piece of metal that I pulled out of a burning, wreck of something. It'll do.
Savagery.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
look,
strong enough. I could just push this through people, and it's ripping.
yeah,
and cutting
it doesn't have a horizontal point,
No.
but I'm going to force it through
Right.
a torso.
Exactly. Again, shades of Jason or Michael Myers, where it's just this unholy strength to make, oh, I found a bottle. I can somehow rip your body in half with a bottle. It makes no sense. It's just so powerful.
So right
yeah,
here with Mari, all I thought was, all right, we better avenge her something fierce, like real good, because geez, it upset
I mean, the whole point is him talking about how badly his life went and how he has to like avenge everybody. So now, okay, then Jen is still like barely alive, but she's like shooting. I like there's right here. She shot. I like right here that she missed.
super duper missed.
Yeah, he's not even trying to dodge, but she probably can't see straight. She's like about dead, but she's still standing up. I like that. I like that a lot.
The one thing that just dawned on me,
Yes.
this whole episode, it took me until right now to realize it. I like this so much, and it also reminds me of Rogue One.
Oh yeah, because you kind of know
like
it's
going in, you're like, oh, this is gonna go real bad, but I just don't know when, and I'm waiting for it to go. Oh, and it went bad, and now no, but I knew, I knew. Why am I feeling this way?
Yeah, it's a really good point. Going back to what you were saying about his arm looking good in the other scene. Now, I don't think his arm looks horrible, but in this part, well, now he's talking to her. Oh, and we're covering it up. Let me switch where we are. It looks very static, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Like this little nub right here just doesn't move.
Yeah.
And it I understand why, but it like I guess what I'm thinking is it would have been better if they had like little tatters or something hanging over it, because it just seems, I don't know, just like
so the reason it's all charred like that, I think, is because it got cauterized when it got chopped.
I understand why that the wound looks the way it does, but I think they could have faked it a little bit, because it looks like he has an arm that he's holding very still, which is of course what the actor's doing. But like in reality, the nub would like move or like, I don't know, just I was very conscious of the fact that there's like a little nub that's not moving, and I don't know. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't as good as before. There's the part you're talking about.
Boom.
Yeah. And then she saves him, and now the whole flashback of how he saved her. And again, that was a nitpick. Most of the CGI in this is better than anything we see on Power Rangers. So nitpicks, what are you gonna do? I'm just something I noticed. So yeah, Mari recruited him off of the street. He was an orphan, he's homeless, and then they show them training and like really bonding. And I thought they were gonna go the romance angle, and I'm kind of glad they didn't. I mean, there might have been a little unspoken something there, but it was unnecessary. And
I think it was just a strong, friendly bond.
Yeah, I agree. Something I said before, but I'm gonna kind of repeat it now, a little more clearly. Part of the reason I think this is the best episode so far isn't necessarily to do with the story or the writing, although I did enjoy. I also enjoyed it was very self-contained. If you going back to like, oh, am I going to remember enough? If you've never watched any episodes of The Unworthy, you could just watch this one and get a story. I'm not saying you should do that, but it's self, just like Rogue One. You don't have to actually really watch any other Star Wars. That's a really good comparison. Ninja Steel. But I was comparing it to comic books. And I'll explain why, not in terms of like how it was written, but like if you read a comic book for a while, I'll go to Preacher. It's a comic. It's an older comic, but I was thinking of this. They had the same artist on it for the whole time. And if you look at the issues at the end of the run versus the beginning of the run, the art is very different, a lot more polished. Things are just differently done. Part of it is because experience, time, you got a pay raise, whatever, it just changes. And I feel like we're seeing that with these as though there were issues of the comic or the episodes of the show. And you see this in real TV shows and network television shows too, where like they get better over time. And it's funny because I'm very sure that every aspect of the production of this is way higher quality than episode 1. From the acting, because the actors get more experience, the props, the lighting, the effects, the sound, everything is better. But right now it feels consistent, because I watched them in order. If I from right now went back and rewatched episode 1, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is like issue 1 of Preacher when he didn't know how to draw the characters yet. And it's that weird thing of like, you don't judge it against anything in the beginning, but then later it's been seamless. Because like I said, I'm not thinking like, oh, this doesn't match what came before. So it sounds like a criticism. It's absolutely not a criticism. It's just acknowledging that things are getting better as they go forward. And as long as you watch it in the correct order, it'll be fine. But if you watch this and then for the first time watch episode 1 or 2, it might be noticeable.
It might be a little different. Yeah, I actually coincidentally I have a buddy who is starting series 9 of Doctor Who, or not series 9, but the 9th Doctor.
Okay.
And he was like, "Hey, I'm starting," and I'm like, "I enjoy 4 hours of waiting before anything gets entertaining." And like that, he's like, "Yeah, these effects are not aged well." Because it was like 2005 or something. And
I think they weren't great. It hasn't aged well, but even at the time, go back to what I was saying, the first new season of Doctor Who, I think they didn't know it was going to be as popular. So like right away, as soon as they got to the next season, it's like, here's a bunch more money, you know?
Yeah. This, I agree with what you said. Like, we see the growth, not only in the behind the scenes stuff, but also in the story. And also it, knock on wood, hasn't hit that, season 8 Game of Thrones of like, and now we're at the end and everybody's upset because it's not what they thought. Like, everything is ramping and like it's consistently getting better.
Do we know how many episodes they're supposed to have total, or have they not announced that?
I don't think it's been formally announced. I think there's confirmed 5 and 6 though.
Yes. Okay. Do you see what I mean about the arm?
It doesn't bother me like you.
It's so noticeable. And here's the thing. I don't know enough about visual effects to know the best way to make that better. I know just enough to know I notice it. You know what I mean? But again, I'm nitpicking because everything else, and that's part of it. That would be an average to above average effect in Power Rangers. But in the context of everything else they're doing, I'm like, that one's not as good as the rest. Little shaky cam. Yeah. And Jen just hammering at him. It doesn't matter.
No, this is one of those things. Every time you play it, I just get distracted and end up like watching and forgetting we're talking.
Well, that's why I take notes.
So he gets away.
Yeah.
He takes Venjik's arm, which is cool.
It is cool, but I got confused and actually rewound it like 3 times when this happened with the arm. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Does he chop it and then put it on, or
no? Okay, I'm gonna play it. So Jen is done for. So then you see him and he's like, they've taken everything from me, or like I have nothing, or whatever. Oh, did I pause that without realizing it? Okay. So we cut from the door closing and he's like, Jen, to this shot where, excuse me, he's got the non-functioning arm attached like to his arm, but it's not working yet, right? And I'm like, okay, so he's gonna put the Actually, I didn't even realize it was the Venjik's arm first. I was like, he's building the robot arm. He's gonna go get the thing. And then they cut from this to him walking out, like when he has no arm. So I was like, wait, I thought he already had the arm. And so I backed up, like, no, he's putting the arm on.
Okay.
And then here. And so then here he is. He walked out of the room where the arbiter was, and he looks on the floor and he sees, wait. Yeah. So he'll see the Venjik's arm severed. He's looking at his arm that's missing, and he looks down and he sees the Venjik's arm, but more importantly, the time shifter thing. So he's like, okay, so there he's getting it. The chronomorpher thing. It's chrono shifter.
Chrono shifter. You're right.
And then it cuts to him going into this room or going out of there, and then back to the room where he's working on it. So I don't think this was a mistake.
I think it was a choice. I think it was him monologuing and then being like, wait, how did he get that arm? Oh, that's how he got that arm. Oh, back.
And I disagree with the editing choice here. Because at first I thought, oh, I misunderstood or saw that incorrectly. And then I was like, wait, did they make a mistake? And then I literally watched it 3 times. And I think you're right that it is a choice. I disagree with the choice mainly because if it was a scene that was a little bit further removed from what had just happened, it would make sense that while he's putting the arm on, there's flashbacks. But it was like, here's the end of this scene, here's an intercut, and here's the scene that would have followed it. So there's just this like 3 seconds that it interrupts the 2 that would connect to each other. It just didn't quite work for me to the point where it was jarring, and I thought I made a mistake or they made a mistake. And so I disagree with the editing choice for that reason. It didn't flow smoothly. I do think it was shot well, and I think all of this scene of him putting himself together, very Frankenstein's castle, Dr. Octopus, kind of like not very heroic, very like,
the thing you need to keep in mind, all the lights in the background are still Machine Empire.
What do you mean?
Like in the background, he's in there, and you saw a couple seconds ago there were big lights at night in kind of the sky through the window. That's Machine Empire, I would assume.
I thought they were saying it was the last dregs of the Machine Empire, though.
But that's the thing. They killed some cogs in there. They killed Venjix. That doesn't mean everybody just like was decommissioned. It just means they cut the head off the snake, but the snake's still going.
That's true. I do love the cape slow-mo shot. Here's a thought though. Also, spoilers at the end, we see that Venjix comes back. He like wakes up, which makes sense because he doesn't need a body. Is he maybe in the arm still somewhere?
Interesting thought.
And could that be to their advantage because Venjix now would want to kill the Arbiter?
Fair. Worth looking into for sure.
I love these transitions of pulling in all the older weapons.
Yep.
Not only do I love it showing that it's happening and the ability, but because I'm old and I like old special effects, it's very crisp and clear and modernly done, but it makes me think of like Tron or even older, even more obscure, rather, Automan, where it's just sort of like, here's the fluorescent trace, there it is.
Yeah.
It tickles me in special ways that I love.
There you go. One thing I love that's a ongoing trope in just all media, someone's from a dystopian future because they have some kind of scarf or cape, and I like that going forward with this, where like he doesn't need that, but I like that he has it.
I thought I couldn't remember how he wore it, and I thought it was like to cover up the ripped suit or the scarred flesh or something, but no, it's just hey, I need people to know I'm from a dystopian.
It's the brooding, and I'm all for it. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. We got it with the coinless universe in the comics, so yeah, right here. If anything, he covers the other arm.
Yeah, it's weird. This cape looks different, which makes sense because they probably shot this completely different times.
That one's more tattered.
Yeah, I guess because he's supposed to have seen more action. This right here is another part I don't like. Unfortunately, this is that's actually Jordan Barnett. We've talked about this before. The Blue Ranger is who's the writer, creator. Is he the director as well? I
believe so.
He's the creator, put it that way. This is unfortunately, this is one of the other parts I don't like. Not that her acting or his acting, there's nothing wrong with the actual performances, but it's a joke I don't like. It's that she turns to him and is like, "Are you crying?" And he's like, "No." Now, if this was a regular Power Rangers team and it was somebody telling a sad story about losing a race or losing their puppy, this makes sense. They just had one of their team members killed. This guy's like, yeah, and the guy who did that took my arm, killed my mentor, my best friend, and we're all screwed. And he is crying. That is very appropriate. That is human. That is normal. He should be crying. You should all be crying. So the fact that she calls him out on it in a way like a teasing kind of like, I thought that was weird. It just felt very out of place. For
I will agree. This joke didn't hit with me overall, but I like that, we're building up for 5 where everybody's together. We now know the backstory. We kind of get everything. And now we get the juices flowing with the 6 of them of like, all right, what's our game plan?
And Rocky gives a nice little pep talk there, which I like. And again, I've been much more negative than you have this whole thing. And that means there's been about 5 things I said I didn't like.
One of them was totally... Yeah.
Still pretty good review. I've also said that it's better than most Power Rangers that are on TV right now. So like, I'm still giving it a really, really good 2 thumbs up kind of review. But
yes,
I feel like I have to. So now we get cameos of future crossovers. Now some of these I expected, and some I didn't.
I love that.
Yeah, the green Beast Morpher, which I believe existed in Go Busters in the Sentai, but I did not see it. I know there's a Ranger key of it. That's why. So what does that mean? Is this just like that's all it is? Because I know sometimes they're like, hey, if you're a cosplayer, come on down and you could be in a second of it. So maybe that's just like an example of a type of Ranger they might see, or maybe this person is going to show up in the next episode.
So before you hit play, what is your headcanon?
I didn't have one until just now. Okay. Assuming this is the Beast Morphers universe.
Yep.
This is Ben. He has been working out. He's still a thick guy, but it's more of like a football player thick now. And this is Ben. Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say it's either Ben or Betty. The other sibling was
the black one.
Well, that or is a lot like passed because of all the Venjix stuff or the Arbiter or something. And
I was thinking that
I'm going real dark. We're the Unworthy universe, right?
I was going that their universe hadn't really been touched yet. Like they defeated Venjix and that's where they were. And the rest of the team had moved on, been promoted, whatever. And Ben was just like still like holding out. Like we never know when a hero is going to be needed. And then the call comes out and he's like, okay, like this is his apartment. This isn't like, you know what I mean? He's just like, I've been saving this, like, that's my headcanon.
Okay. So we got green.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because this is the call. Like, hey, Guys want to
Yeah.
go kick some Arbiter butt?
Now this one's interesting because these are sentries.
Yep.
Now the Mastodon sentry says, okay, this is the Lord Draken universe, which raises questions of would Draken join them against the Arbiter? Who knows?
I'm
Would the-
assuming this is the universe where he killed the Arbiter, killed the Draken already.
I guess so. And then the sentries would, but who are the sentries then loyal to?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. But here's the other thing. There's the Terra sentry, I guess. Terra sentry, which I don't remember seeing in Shadow
I
Pass.
think in
Because in the
Shadow
comic-
Pass we have it. In the comic, I think it is a thing.
I thought in the comic it didn't exist because we had Ranger Slayers. She kept her full power, so they didn't have sentries.
Not
thought the
100% sure.
Okay, I don't remember ever seeing this. I didn't think it existed in the comic. If we're wrong, tell us in the tell us in the comments below. But I found that interesting for that reason specifically.
I really like it.
Yeah. I also like the way the cuts turn. Now this, okay, so this is Andros. He's wearing the outfit. Funny enough, in the figure that they just released,
From Bloodline of the Grid.
but they didn't show his face. So I'm assuming it's Bloodline of the Grid, but they don't show him as he looks in that. So we don't know for sure if it's that or if it's traditional, Red Ranger Andros.
Yeah.
And then the Ninjor, of course.
Yeah, buddy.
I want to know what kind of metallic he was on parts. Most of it. That's pretty cool. And then Omega Ranger, which I'm assuming is Colin Bass.
I believe so.
A little Omega Axis out. So yeah, that's awesome. I'll let the credits roll. Or will I? Did I hit play? Oh, this is Vengex being like, I'm still alive, which surprised me again. Not that he would still. Oh, director, writer, editor. Yeah, so he does it all, and actor. So if you really look at it, like the 5 critiques I had in the million jobs he did, he's doing a good job.
Yeah,
that's a good batting average, buddy. Cog Legion, Drew Stevenson. That's who the Cog was. There
congratulations, Drew.
Well done. So let me see. Beast Wars, that Century.
So did you like it, Gaz?
No. I loved it. I did love it. It was great. Like, again, today wasn't the day I wanted to do this. But as soon as that theme song kicked in, I was in a better mood. And by the time I got to the end, I couldn't wait to talk to you about it. So
yeah,
no, this was great. A+, if it didn't have those little nitpicks, it would still be, it's an A+. I have nitpicks on Star Wars, like
it's a 99 instead of 100 to you.
Yeah. Here we go. Oh, okay. So I'm going to play this in full. Yeah. Hopefully we're just not going to get any copyright strike stuff, but I'm going to play this for them because, I'll leave us on there. But this is their message that I started at the beginning.
Hey, Ranger Nation. Chrono Ranger here. We need your help. We want to make Power Rangers Unworthy the biggest and best fan series we possibly can. But we're a small team and production costs a lot. So we officially launched a Patreon where you guys can help.
I haven't had the banner on the whole time.
We can't do this without you. In exchange for joining the fight like never before, not only will you get rewards like your names in the credits of our episodes and early access to future videos,
5.
but we'll even be releasing Patreon exclusive minisodes that expand the story.
That's
The Last Jedi coming soon. And did I mention we just opened a brand new merch store with exclusive Unworthy Club shirts that
those look like those. What's that wrestling
you
club?
can't buy or donate.
Like a Japanese wrestling club or
There are
something that
other
they're
ways
based
you
on.
can join the
Bullet
fight.
Club.
Just like leaving comments and sharing this video. Every small bit helps, and we appreciate you all for it. We've come this far with your support, and together, I knew we could become so much more. This is the Chrono Ranger, signing out.
All right, so yeah, definitely watch their video, share their video, and if you can, support them on Patreon.
Very exciting
Why does
announcement today.
it keeps cutting to this? It makes it seem like very exciting announcement. I'm a big fan of the Unworthy. This is me, Twitchy Streamy. What is
PewDiePie.
PewDiePie. It's me, Twitchy Streamy. I love the Unworthy. Do you think he is not PewDiePie, but the Chrono Ranger? I know a lot of them have the sort of airbrushed, accentuated musculature. It looks like he might have a small armor plate under him, and not that the person isn't in good shape, but it just like it looks like there's a 3-dimensional, either that or the airbrushing is just very, very good. But it looked like maybe there was a thin armor plate, kind of like what they did with Michael Keaton and Batman, but to a much, much lesser extent.
Oh, I see what you're saying. No idea.
Yeah. Well, that was Unworthy 4, which we didn't plan on doing this soon, but I'm glad we did. Unfortunate for Dino Fury that we're going to go back to that now.
Shucks.
Yeah. Wow, this has been an hour and 9 minutes.
for a 35-minute episode.
Yeah, watch it if you haven't. You should have not watched this. I'll tell you that. You should have. But yeah, check it out. And if you can support them in any way, sharing, liking, subscribing, commenting on their videos. And not that they need our help. They're doing way better than us. But hey, there you go.
Yeah, great series. Definitely, support them in any way you can. Watching and liking the videos and commenting is free. If you want to spend some money, Patreon, buy merch,
we're gonna have to have a talk if you and I are gonna, because if we want to see those extra bonus videos, we're gonna have to subscribe to their Patreon. So we might have to talk about that off air.
Oh, we're gonna watch the Unworthy stuff. I'm saying that. But yeah, really, I feel like I say the same thing every time whenever we watch the fan stuff, but it's like, why is it so hard for the Hasbro overlords to just go, that's pretty cool, we should do something like that?
And I know there are like legal reasons they can't, and I know they have to work with some of the Sentai. I know there are actual objective reasons, but I feel like they could be getting closer to this than they are, even within the constraints they have. And
what I will say is, this is a deeper cut, but going in the right direction. Having the Bat in the Sun Green Ranger suit in the comics was, the first step of like, we see you.
Yes, let's canonize some of this stuff. Yeah.
So so what do you think? What do you think's going to happen in 5? What are you looking forward to? Just kind of, what are your thoughts overall of where Unworthy's going next?
I mean, man, I don't know, because the problem is I'm all caught up in this episode, whereas now 5 is picking up. Yeah, they're definitely putting out the call to other Rangers. But what I don't want it to be is just like when they fought Lord Draken, where it's just like, let's get everybody together and fight Lord. And I know there will be some aspect and element of that, and I'm not against that, because we'll get to see all these little guest stars from just different universes and or different productions. So I like that, but I want maybe there's. Again, I'm not writing this. I haven't written this. I'm not going to write this, but I don't want them to beat the Arbiter with Force. I want him to be, I want a redemption. I want a Darth Vader ending, I want, and yes, Darth Vader was beaten with Force, but not really, you know what I mean? He was beaten because his heart was changed. I want the Arbiter to either have his heart changed, his mind changed, or be outwitted and tricked in some way, like a Naruto, like 15 flip arounds, and then but it was a log, but then here I go, and I was the fan, and then here we go, and got you. Because if they just literally brute force it with 1,000 range, now that being said, have that scene with a ton of Rangers attacking him and
that just get wrecked.
And he's killing everybody, but that's not the plan. That's the distraction to then do the real plan. Or after he does that for a while, Rocky grabs him and is like, you got to understand the heart of the cards or whatever, So I do want to see that big battle, but I don't want him to be defeated with brute force. I will find that disappointing.
So I think they're going to have to find like a technicality to beat him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's nigh omnipotent at this point. Like, I think kind of like how he beat Zordon and Zordon kind of corrupted him. Like, they're going to have to find some kind of way like that, maybe using the grid itself or like something very deep cut.
Okay. Please continue. I just thought of something else though.
Okay. So that's what I think, or it could be very Endgame-esque where they're like, we got to go in the grid to figure out a way to beat him because we need the Zeo crystal infused with a Ninjetti coin, infused with put it into the chronomorpher, and then we get super mega. That's the Alex version where something turns into the super mega ultra battleized Ranger, and then they go head to head. That's where we go.
But also going back to something I said before, I would like it if Venjix plays a part beyond coming back as another villain. Like if he somehow is like, remember me, stab, you
want Venjix to be like the Unworthy's Arnim Zola, where it's like, I was pretty bad and I was there for it, but like I hate him more than I hate you.
Not even in a I'm on your side now way, but more of like from hell's heart I stab at thee. Like I don't care about the Rangers, I don't care about I hate you now, and I just want to hurt, and he won't win the fight, but it'll freeze him up for a minute or something. That I want to see. I feel like this was addressed in previous episodes, but I can't remember now. Why does no one have Zords? Even if the Unworthy themselves just didn't have Zords for some reason, like all these other Rangers, because you get a couple of Zords, and maybe the Arbiter could grow big and fight him. I would like to see that. I understand budget. I understand budget could be the reason, but was there an in-universe reason given?
I don't think it was addressed. And again, I'd have to go back. I remember in like episode 2, they can't fight him for very long because he like messes with their powers.
Yeah, but that doesn't explain why they couldn't use Zord, or again, not just the Unworthy specifically in their universe, because like I think they may have said something about not having Zords.
Oh, maybe he doesn't affect their powers, but he can track them. I don't know.
He can track them. They did say that.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I asked this is because will we see some kind of crazy big Zord fight, and that might again be all based on budget and Patreon and all that stuff. Fair enough. But going back to like weird things I'd like to see, we have the Pink Ranger with the Green Ranger power, the Dragon Pink or whatever they're calling her. I would love to see like a Dragon Zord, like a new Dragon Zord with like pterodactyl wings, like swooping in, flying in, like missiles from the hand,
like essentially Mothra on Godzilla's back, and just like
pretty much, yeah.
That,
I would like.
I want that, but in Zord.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't. I don't know if that's been addressed because I know there were Zords in the last episode. Like we saw that in the flashback stuff. Like we saw
in the background. Yeah. It wasn't a Zord fight. They acknowledged that there are Zords.
Yeah. I don't know, but like kind of like you said, I just love all of this like retroactive lore that we get. Like that's my favorite part of these series is like, right there he's like, oh, it would be kind of cool, Machine Empire with Vengeance. Like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Did it. Oh, it's kind of cool. SPD and Time Force kind of like, acknowledging each other. Yeah. Oh yeah, why didn't you guys do that? Or even like with just the Unworthy team, we didn't see it in the show, obviously for behind the scenes reasons, but it's like, hey, you guys were both Rangers, and like now just one of you is the X color Ranger at this time. Like we had Adam, now we have Zach again. We had Jason at one point, we currently have Rocky, like all this kind of stuff.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, you could mix it around and
So I'm very stoked for what we get for both this and the Nerdbot stuff. And
I'm glad that they made this a regular episode. Like you said, that it was going to be like a side thing. I'm glad they just went full on with this. And the Nerdbot stuff too, which we'll do another episode on their stuff. I think there's a few other, we got more indie Toku stuff to do, and we're going to do it all at the end of Dino Fury. But because there was so much going on with this one right now, it just seemed like, let's just do it.
Here's what I will say. And I did not discuss this with Gaz beforehand, which he loves to hear and see.
I love it.
If you would prefer that we look at some of the indie Toku stuff while not having Dino Fury finished because that entertains you more, let us know. And if enough people convince Gaz to do that, then we can, in theory, do kind of a checkered schedule, just because personally I don't love Dino Fury right now, so I wouldn't mind mixing it up every once in a while.
But for probably a lot of people that follow have already finished Dino Fury because they just binge it and watch it, and they're not waiting like we are. If there are huge spoilers that we're going to potentially get in Dino Fury because we haven't watched it yet, don't tell us the spoiler, but say, no, you know what? You might want to hurry up and finish it. Even if you don't make the episodes of it right now, just get through it for your own sake.
We did have assistance with that with Beast Morphers, where we had somebody say, hey, I do my best to not look at stuff on the internet until you look at Dino Fury episode 19 or whatever it is.
I think Dino, so if we get something like that, and I think Dino Fury season 2 is going to be the bigger one that we got to watch out for. Related to that, if there is indie Toku stuff you want us to look at, we have some stuff in mind already. Give us a link. Tell us what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll take a look at that too. So feel free to throw it out there. But it's been a long episode. We gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go. Because we're coming up on an hour and 18 minutes. No one's watching this anymore. So in the meantime, I have been Gazbot.
I am the Big Dawg Defender.
And
to the power.
Yes.
See? What if we get someone from Tokuger? Or no, Toker.
What?
The train one. How do you say
Tokuger.
it? Yeah,
Tokuger. Okay. If we get someone from Tokuger? Yeah, oh, you mean Unworthy?
Yeah.
I doubt it. I mean...
What if it's just literally the darkest character we've ever seen in Power Rangers is from the train season. Like, you don't understand.
They have dark characters. You haven't seen Tokuger. You don't know what you're talking about.
I know. I just love poking at you.
I'm not against it or for it. I do love that season. I think it would be weird because the green Beast Morpher from Go Busters, at least we've seen Beast Morphers, whereas Tokudra would be coming out of nowhere, which again, I wouldn't hate, but it would be weird. And I don't want to, I've seen it, so I don't want to say anymore. Anyway, goodbye.